In the long and storied history of the British monarchy, few moments have presented as sharp a dilemma as the one now facing King Charles III. While the crown has survived wars, abdications, and revolutions, it has never been forced to reckon with the emotional and cultural distance of one of its heirs growing up outside the royal system. Prince Archie, the grandson of King Charles and son of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, represents a generation raised with choice rather than obligation, and that presents a challenge to the core fabric of the monarchy. What happens when tradition is no longer inherited but questioned? Can the institution endure if its future members decide not to belong? From the moment Prince Archie was born on May 6, 2019, he was already at the center of change. Unlike his royal cousins George, Charlotte, and Louis, who were introduced to the public and photographed in accordance with decades-old protocols, Archie's birth was private. His parents, Harry and Meghan, made it clear early on that they would chart their own path away from the intense scrutiny and formality of Buckingham Palace. As a result, Archie would grow up not in Windsor or Kensington, but under the sunny skies of California, far from the royal traditions that shaped his father's upbringing. This physical and emotional distance between Archie and the institution of the monarchy is deeply symbolic. It raises important questions not only about titles, roles, and lineage, but about identity and purpose. Can someone born into royalty truly escape it? And what does it mean for a child like Archie to grow up with royal blood, but without the expectations that come with it? King Charles, who ascended to the throne after decades of preparing for the role, finds himself caught in a deeply personal and institutional conflict. As a monarch, he is responsible for preserving and passing down the traditions of the crown. As a grandfather, he longs to connect with a boy who may never see Buckingham Palace as part of his identity. Charles's reflections on this dilemma go beyond policy. They reach into his memories and his understanding of what it means to live for duty. From a young age, Charles had no choice in his role. He became heir to the throne at age 3 and was raised under strict royal protocols. His education was carefully curated, his behavior constantly monitored, and his emotional development often suppressed in the name of resilience. Charles attended Gordonstoun, a boarding school in Scotland chosen by Prince Philip, his father, for its harsh discipline. The experience was so isolating that Charles later likened it to a prison sentence. Yet through that isolation, Charles developed the qualities he now credits for keeping him grounded: discipline, perseverance, and a profound sense of duty. In contrast, Prince Archie's life bears little resemblance to his grandfather's. Instead of state visits and official ceremonies, his days are filled with private moments, free play, and a distinctively American upbringing. Archie isn't attending royal engagements or being molded for monarchy. He's growing up surrounded by freedom, far from the scrutiny of the British press and courtly traditions. And that's exactly what his parents wanted. In January 2020, Harry and Meghan shook the foundation of the monarchy by announcing, through an Instagram post, that they were stepping back as senior royals. The move blindsided the palace and sparked a global media frenzy. For King Charles, then the Prince of Wales, it wasn't just a breach of protocol, it was a profound personal blow. He had not been fully consulted, and the announcement came as a surprise not only to him, but to Queen Elizabeth II as well. The choice to go public before private discussions could occur represented a departure not just in form, but in values. Harry's departure was more than a resignation from royal duties. It was a rejection of the system itself. He and Meghan were not just leaving the institution, they were publicly redefining what it meant to be royal. Their decision was steeped in frustration over invasive media coverage, lack of autonomy, and systemic issues within the royal household. And Archie, born into this moment of tension and transition, became both a symbol and a question mark. Would he grow up to feel a sense of belonging to the family legacy? Or would he see it as something he was fortunate to escape? As King Charles considers the implications of this generational rift, He reflects not only on the monarchy's past, but its evolving future. The monarchy has always been predicated on continuity, on each generation accepting the role passed down to them. But Archie's upbringing breaks this chain. For the first time in centuries, a royal child in the line of succession is being raised entirely outside the system. He has no title, no palace residence, and no formal role within the institution. The question of titles looms large in this discussion. According to the 1917 letters patent issued by King George V, only the children and grandchildren of the monarch in the male line were entitled to be styled as prince or princess. When Queen Elizabeth amended these rules in 2012 to grant all of Prince William's children the title of prince or princess, she did not do the same for Archie. Some argued that this was a matter of protocol, while others, including Meghan in her Oprah interview, suggested more troubling implications, raising concerns that race may have influenced the decision. This led to further tension. If titles were being denied, was that a sign of institutional exclusion? Or had Harry and Meghan declined them to give Archie a normal life? The truth, as with much surrounding the royal family, likely lies somewhere in between. But for King Charles, it meant another point of disconnection, a small, symbolic thread that was never tied. The implications of all this are deeply personal. Charles sees his other grandchildren frequently. Prince George, who will one day become king, shares a bond with Charles built through proximity and tradition. Charlotte and Louis attend royal events, participate in public appearances, and are being gradually introduced to their responsibilities. But Archie, by virtue of distance and decision, remains largely outside of this world. For Charles, the absence is deeply felt. He has reportedly expressed interest in building a relationship with Archie, even floating the idea of quiet visits to the US. But the damage done by previous tensions, including the palace's decision to evict Harry and Meghan from Frogmore Cottage and Meghan's concerns about security in the UK, has made reconnection difficult. Charles understands that in the monarchy's effort to preserve tradition, it may have pushed a part of the family too far away. Yet, there's a quiet acknowledgement within Charles now. Perhaps the monarchy must evolve not just through policy, but through compassion. Archie's upbringing may not mirror that of past royals, but it reflects the values of a modern world, where personal agency, emotional well-being, and individual identity are prioritized over inherited obligation. In a sense, Archie embodies the shift the monarchy must face, from duty-driven survival to empathetic relevance. This reckoning is not without precedent. The abdication of King Edward VIII in 1936 was another instance where personal choice clashed with tradition. But Archie's story is not one of scandal or rebellion. It is one of quiet divergence. Raised by parents who chose a different life, Archie may never feel royal in the traditional sense, but he represents a new kind of royalty, one born of legacy, but raised with freedom. As Charles walks this line between past and future, he grapples with the possibility that Archie's distance might not be a loss, but a shift. The monarchy has long relied on mystique and ritual, but the modern public demands openness and authenticity. Archie, raised outside the system, might one day return with fresh eyes and a clearer sense of self, not to inherit tradition, but to redefine it. In the end, King Charles must accept that legacy is not cemented by birth alone. It must be earned, embraced, and made meaningful by each generation. Archie's journey is unwritten, and that uncertainty, while unsettling to Charles, may also be its greatest strength. If Archie chooses to engage with the monarchy, it will be a conscious decision, not a duty assigned at birth. If he walks away entirely, it may mark the beginning of a monarchy that finally learns to let go of control and place its faith in the values it hopes to represent: unity, service, and choice. King Charles, the man who waited a lifetime to wear the crown, is now the one quietly watching as history shifts. He knows the institution must adapt or be left behind. The question is no longer whether Archie belongs to the monarchy, but whether the monarchy is willing to belong to a world where people like Archie are free to choose. In that space between tradition and transformation, the future of the crown now rests.